So we lived at the top of the Palisades where the fire we thought was coming down. We didn't know because we weren't watching the news because Heidi wouldn't change the channel because we had a sick kid with 104-degree temperature, just locked into Blippy or whatever. And she's like, I'm not turning on the news. I'm like, turn on the news, which if we had turned on the news, we would have known the fire was coming up from Temescal Canyon, like going towards my parents' house. But we just thought it was behind our house. So she evacuated with the kids to my parents' house to be safe. And then when she got there, like took everything out, my older sister called like, what are you doing there? You're not watching the news. The fire's about to hit like mom and dad's house. So yeah, that was
pack up there too.
Yeah. So she double packed up solo with sick kids because I'm trying to tear my dad away from a mountain of fire because he was like in this trance, like would not leave. I'm like, you're gonna die, Dad. Like he's like, I'm gonna stay and fight the fire. I did it in Malibu in the 70s. I'm like, this is a forest fire. Like you're gonna die. And so I had to like, took me 2 hours to get him in a car, and I finally like drove him away. And then I watched on our security cameras, he like snuck back. So now I'm like watching my dad with this little garden hose as just a mountain of flames is coming down the street. And I'm like, he's not picking up his phone. So the hardest part about the whole thing was watching and not having my dad pick up his phone. And I was like, my dad's going to die. And like Heidi's like, you got to leave, you got to leave. And I'm like, I got to go back. So thankfully it took my mind off the fact we were losing everything because I was so concerned about my dad dying, which he fully should have, because then he went from my house to his house and wasn't picking up the phone. I kept calling and calling, and finally he picked up and he sounded, I had him on speaker. He sounded like he had like brain poisoning or something from the smoke. And he's like, I'm doing well in here. All the houses around are on fire, but I'm doing a good job. I'm like, you're going to die. He's like, I'll just jump in the pool. I'm like, oh, he is like.
We called 911 to have someone go check on him, and they're like, absolutely not. No one is going there. Those roads are inaccessible. Whatever he is doing is taking his own life at risk. We are not sending anyone to go check on him.
They're like, those.
How did he eventually
He said, like, finally, like, I probably called realistically 700 times, like, just like that for 2 hours. Finally, he's like, yeah, I got to go. And he's like, I'm going to get out of here. And he did say as he was driving, cars were just blowing up next to him. Trash cans were just on fire, blowing and hitting the car. And so he admits that
he's very lucky.
He's very lucky. And, he went to the hospital with like smoke inhalation poisoning or whatever. And he can barely talk now. So that was like good and bad because it really took my mind off of like watching our own house burning down on the security cameras.
Yeah.
So I was like, at least my dad got out of there. And then I was just like so mad for so long. Like, why would he have added? I didn't need this extra, but he clearly, once our house burned down, he was like, I can't lose two. The family needs one house. So I get it, but this was not a normal situation.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's beyond crazy because it's also, like I've always said, like I'm born and raised in the Palisades. Every single one of my friends and their parents, everyone's house burned down. So it's not like, our house and my parents, like my group chats
your
and
village,
our whole world. So I just keep saying to Heidi when I'm like, I just feel like we got jacked. Like our lives were just stolen from us. Like everything I've ever known. And the hardest part is like, we have our iPhones. Like we take a lot of photos, a lot of Snapchats. So I have a bunch of content, but my entire pre-iPhone life was at my parents' house, curated in my time capsule room, all my drawers, every trophy, everything, like stuff I want to show my kids, like my grandpa's stuff, his newspaper clippings, my dad's everything just being gone. Like that hurts the most because my parents didn't get one thing out.
Wow.
Zero. Not even like a bag with clothes.
That's heartbreaking.
It's insane. So, but he's a global pop star. So, what a haze.